Hey, what's up you guys? It's Dorothy and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Comment down below what you want to see in the future. Click that subscribe button and don't forget to turn on my post notifications. That way you lovely people get notified every single time I upload a video. In today's video, we are going to go into chapter 52 of As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson because we are almost done with the book. I am just so excited to get right into this and to figure out what's going on. So yeah, let's see if Max actually gets convicted or not. This video may contain sensitive topics and foul language. If you do not wish to continue, please click off of the video now. You have been warned. 52. Pip stroked her finger down the computer screen, stalling over the last line of the email. Thank you for believing in me and Billy. She had believed in them because Pip was supposed to be the sixth victim of the DT killer, and in a way she always would be. From the moment Jason grabbed her, there was no doubt that an innocent man was sitting in prison, but the plan had forgotten Billy. Survival had taken over, survival and revenge, and protecting Ravi and the others from the plan, but Billy needed to be saved from Jason Bell as much as she did, and Pip had left him behind, making him secondary. She could have done something, couldn't she? The plan only worked if she didn't know Jason Bell was the DT killer, had nothing to do with him, but she could have thought of something. Another realization, stone cold and stone hard in her gut. Pip thought there wouldn't be any significant evidence that Jason Bell was the DT killer, which meant two things. She was always going to leave Billy Carraz behind, save herself, and bury him away at the back of her mind. And the second, none of this had to happen. Maybe Pip could have kept walking through the trees, Jason's car pulling up to green scene behind her. She could have kept going, found her road, found a house, found a person and a phone. Maybe Hawkins wouldn't have believed her, but he might have looked into it. Maybe he would have found the same evidence they found now to back up her word, acted before Jason had a chance to act again. Jason behind bars and Billy free on the strength of Pip's first-hand account. But that's not what happened. A fork in the path she hadn't taken. Pip had made a different choice, standing in the shadows of those trees. It wasn't an accident or an instinct or fight or flight. She saw both paths and she made the choice. She went back. And maybe the other Pip in the other life would say she made the right choice. She trusted in those who never trusted in her, and it had worked out. Saved herself to save herself. Maybe she was already fixed. Team Ravi and Pip moving on, living a normal life, but this Pip could also say hers was the right choice. Dead was the only way she could have be sure the DT killer would never hurt anyone again. And on this path, Max Hastings was going to go down to two birds, one stone, two monsters, and a ring of dead-eyed girls of their making. One dead, one locked away for 30 to life. If it worked, gone, disappeared, and no one left to look for them. Maybe this was way better. Who could say? Anyway, there was something Pip could do now to rewrite that mistake, to unforget Billy Carraz. His mom was probably right when they processed Jason's body and entered his fingerprint information into the database. It had pinged with a remaining question mark from the DT killer case. Maybe other DNA hits too to the DT killer crime scenes that they previously written off. And there were the trophies. Pip had found 3 of them herself, not now 2 more by looking at an old printed photo of the Bells family, one she had pinned on her murder board a year ago, a golden necklace with a coin pendant that had belonged to Philippa Brockford wrapped around Dawn Bell's neck, 2 glints of light by Becca's ears, rose gold earrings with a pale green stones, the same earrings she still wore now. They belonged to Julia Hunter. Pip wished she could get a message to Becca somehow, tell her everything that happened, tell her about those earrings, because DT still had hold over as long as they were in her ears. Reliving the moments he'd killed these women whenever he saw his wife and his daughters. The police had searched Jason's house. If they found and collected Pip's headphones, maybe they found the trophies from the other victims. Andy's purple hairbrush, the necklace Dawn wore, Bethany Ingram's queso watch, Harriet's key rings. And if they hadn't yet found the trophies, Pip could lead Hawkins to them. She just had to show him this photo. Not only that, she had Andy's secret email account that had unsent drafted the email, Andy's words that weren't hers last, but they feel like it would be. The nail in Jason Bell's coffin lead the police to Andy's connection with Ch52. Pip would need to change the password on the account to something less conspicuous than her temporary DT Killer 6. She did that now, swapping it out for Team Andy and Becca. She thought Andy would like that the best. The police might have a fingerprint, but Pip could give them everything else. She shore up the case again. Jason Bell to beyond reasonable doubt, so when Billy's conviction was overturned, they wouldn't have to take it to a retrial with the new exploratory evidence, but they dismissed the charges outright, let Billy finally go home. Pip owed him that much. And if everyone knew who Jason Bell really was, Pip would no longer have to listen to people say how fucking awful it was that someone killed him. Pip practiced in the mirror, her voice dry and unused all day. "Hi, Detective Hawkins. Sorry, I know you must be extraordinarily busy. It's just, well, as you know, I've been looking into Jason Bell's background as part of my research into who might have killed him, looking into his company, personal relations, etc. And I don't know," she paused, an apologetic look on her face, teeth gritted. "I found something troubling connections to another case. I didn't want to bother you with them, but I really think you should take a look." The duct tape and rope taken from Green Scene Ltd. And the company connection with the dump sites, the recording of her old interview with Jess Walker about a security alarm set off at the premises on the same night Terry Yates and Andy died, the username for Andy's second email address, and the just reset password, and a photo of the school planner on Andy's desk, the purple paddle hairbrush beside it. And this family photo with the necklace and the earrings. Becca's still wearing them, I know, because I've been visiting her. Maybe it's just me, but I think these look just like the earrings the GT killer took from Julia Hunter as a trophy. The voice in her head that sounded like Robbie told her not to. The real one would probably agree, and that she should not try to bring any more attention to herself, but Pip had to do this for Billy, for his mom, and so that the other Pip in her other life, the one who made the other choice, was right. Pip collected everything she needed to free a man, and she left. The same journey again to Fairview Police Station, but this time Pip completed it, and there was no black hole in her chest anymore, only determination, only rage and fear and determination. Her final chance to set everything right, save Billy, take on Hawkins, take down Jason Bell and Max Hastings, save Ravi, save herself, live a normal life. The end was the beginning, and both were running out. She pulled into the empty space into a parking lot, checked her eyes in the rearview mirror, and opened the door. Pip shouldered her backpack with everything inside and slammed the door, the sound clapping through the quiet Thursday afternoon. But it wasn't quiet, not anymore. As Pip walked up to the brick building and the bad place, a rush of tires on concrete behind her, lots of them, peeling to a stop. Pip stopped short of the automatic doors, looked over her shoulder. 3 cars had just pulled up outside an entrance. A white-black squad car in front, followed by an unmarked SUV, another squad car at the rear. 2 uniformed officers who Pip didn't know climbed out of the vehicle, one speaking into the radio clipped to his shoulder. The doors of the squad car at the back opened, and stepped out officers Daniel De Silva and Sonia Baduza. Daniel's mouth tensed in a grim line as he caught Pip's eyes. The driver's side door of the unmarked black car opened, and Detective Hawkins emerged, his green padded jacket zipped up to his neck. He didn't notice Pip standing there 20 feet from him. As he stepped to the back door of his car, opened it, and leaned in. Pip saw his legs first, then his feet swinging out into the concrete, then his hands cuffed in front of him as Hawkins pulled him out of the car. Max Hastings was under arrest. "I'm telling you, you've made a huge mistake," he said to Hawkins. His voice was shaking, and in the moment Pip couldn't tell whether it was the rage or fear. She hoped it was the latter. "I had nothing to do with this. I don't understand." Max cut off, his pale eyes trailing toward the police station, finding Pip standing there, latching on. His breathing grew heavier, his eyes widening, darkening. Hawkins didn't notice, gesturing for Sonia and one of the other officers to come over. They didn't see it coming. Pip didn't see it coming. In one quick, shuddering movement, Max wrenched his arm free of Hawkins, shoving him to the ground. He broke away, flying across the parking lot too fast. She didn't even have time to blink. Max collided into Pip, cuffed, hands against her neck, shoving her backward into the brick building. Her head connected with a crack. Shouts and scuffles behind, but Pip could only see one thing, the flash of Max's eyes inches from hers. His hands tightened around her neck, the points of his fingers burning through her skin. He bared his teeth and shared hers back. "You did this," he screamed in her face, spit flying. "You did this somehow." He pushed harder, grating Pip's head against the brick. She didn't fight him off. Her hands were free, but she didn't push him away. She flashed her eyes back and whispered quietly, so only Max could hear, "You're lucky I didn't put you in the ground, too." Max roared at her, the scream of a cornered animal, his face patchy and red, ugly veins sticking out of his eyes. "You're a fucking bitch," she screamed, slamming her head just as Hawkins and Daniel caught up behind, dragging him off of her. A scuffle, Max down on the ground, kicking out at them, and the other officer rushed over. "She did this," Max screamed. "I didn't do it. I didn't do anything. I'm innocent." Pip felt the back of her head. No blood on her hands. "I didn't do it." They hauled him up onto his feet. Max threw his head in her direction. A fleeting moment. He looked just as he should, eyes narrow and violent, mouth gaping open, hideous and wide, face inflamed and misshapen. Excuse me. There he was, the danger ripped of all pretense, all disguise. "She did this somehow," he screamed. "She did. She's fucking crazy." "Get him inside," Detective Hawkins shouted over Max, directing Soria and the other two officers as they half-dragged, half-carried a writhing Max through the automatic doors into the station. Before he followed them in, Hawkins turned back to Pip, pointing at her. "You okay?" he asked, out of breath. "Fine," she nodded. "Okay." He nodded too and hurried inside the building, following the sound of Max's wild screams. Someone sniffed behind her and Pip wheeled around, snapping her eyes to them. It was Daniel Da Silva, riding his uniform ruffled as and askew where Max had pulled at it. "Sorry," he said breathily. "You all right? Looked like he got you pretty hard there." "Yeah, no, fine," she said. "Just a bump on the head. It'll be fine. My dad says I have a few too many brain cells anyways, could afford to lose a few." "Right." Dan sniffed with a smile, sad smile. "Max Hastings?" Pip said quietly, a question hiding behind his name. "Yeah," Dan said. "They're charging him?" she asked, both of them watching the entrance doors and the muffled sounds of Max's voice filtering through. "With murder?" Daniel nodded. Something had been pressing down on Pip, a shadow heavy on her shoulders constricting her chest, but as she watched Daniel's head move up and down, it finally let go. It released her. They were charging Max with Jason's murder. Her heart beat, winged fast against her ribs, but it wasn't the terror. It was something else, something closer to hope. It was over. She had won. 4 against 4, and here she was, still standing. "Piece of shit," Dan hissed, pulling back into the moment. "Here are the bad place watching these doors. Don't tell anyone I said that, but Jason Bell was like a father to me, and he—" Daniel broke off, staring at the glass doors, and he swallowed Max whole. Daniel wiped at his eyes, coughed into his fist. "I'm sorry," Pip said, and it wasn't a lie. She wasn't sorry that Jason was dead. Not one bit. Not sorry she had killed him, but she did feel sorry for Daniel. Pip hadn't thought him capable of violence 3 separate times, now convicted beyond a doubt he had been the DT killer. He wasn't. He was just another one of those souls floating out in the expanse of gray area, in the wrong place at the wrong times, and another realization, hard and cold as they were always seemed to be these days. Jason Bell had used Daniel. He was the reason Dan joined the police force at all. Jason convinced him to do it, supported him through training. Becca had told Pip all this last year, and now she saw it for what it really was. It wasn't because Jason saw Daniel as the son he never had. No, it was because he wanted to get information on the DT killer case and in with the police and the investigation, and all of Daniel's red flag questions about TT had really been Jason's. His interest in the case through Daniel. That's what it was, and that's what Amy had meant when she said her dad was practically one of them. He used him. Jason Bell hadn't been like a father to Daniel, just as he wasn't a father to Andy and Becca. Pip could tell Daniel she could warn him about the information that might come out about Jason soon, his links to the DT killer, but she didn't want to be the one to take that away from him. She'd taken enough. "Yeah," Daniel said absently, watching the entrance as someone walked through it, the doors hissing against the frames. It was Detective Hawkins. "Daniel," he said, "could you—" He gestured back toward the station with his thumb. "Yes, sir," Daniel said with a quick shake of his head, picking up his feet and disappearing inside through the automatic doors. Hawkins walked over to her. "You okay?" he asked again. "Do I need to call any medical assistance? Your head?" He narrowed his eyes at her. "No, it's fine. I'm fine," she insisted. "I'm sorry," he coughed awkwardly. "That was my fault. He wasn't resisting before then. I didn't expect him to. I should have been paying attention. My fault." "That's okay," Pip gave him a tense, closed-mouth smile. "No worries." The silence between them was thick and teeming. "What are you doing here?" Hawkins asked her. "Oh, I came to talk to you about something." Right, he looked at her. I know you're busy, clearly. She glanced at the doors into the station, but I think we should talk inside. I have some things I need to show you. Something I found in my research. It's important, I think. Hawkins' eyes alighted on hers. Pip stared back. She wouldn't be the one to break it. Yeah, sure, okay, he said, looking quite quickly behind him. Can you give me 10 minutes? Yes, that's fine, she said. I'll wait out here. Hawkins bowed his head and he turned away from her. So he did it then? Pip directed the question back at Hawkins' head. Max killed Jason Bell. He halted, turned back around, his polished shoes hissing against the concrete. A small movement of his head, not quite a nod. The evidence is overwhelming, he said. His eyes flicked back to hers, circling like he was studying her for a reaction. She didn't give him one. Her face stayed the same. What was he expecting her to do? Smile? Remind him that she had been right from the start, ahead of him once again? That's good then, she said. The evidence, I mean, no doubt. There's a press conference later today, he said. Okay. Hawkins sniffed. I need to. He took one step back toward the automatic doors, tripping the sensors. Sure, I'll wait out here, she said. Hawkins took another step, then paused, shaking his head with a tiny outward laugh. I suppose if you were ever involved in anything like this, he said, the after-laugh smile still on his face, you knowed exactly how to get away with it. He watched her and something fell down into Pip's stomach, but it kept going further and further, drawing her down with it, hair standing up across the back of her neck, a flicker of a smile on her face to match his. Well, she said with a shrug, I have listened to a lot of true crime podcasts. Right, Hawkins laughed quickly, looking down at the shoes again. Right, with a nod. I'll come find you when I'm done. He walked back inside the station and Pip watched him go, and was that the hiss of the closing doors, or was that sound coming from inside her own head? That is the end of chapter 42. I will see you guys for the next chapter. Bye!